Go! Bonjour. Bien. Et on a de la musique. Hein. Ah, on enlève la musique, je dis. Allô, on va share slide. My computer. Safi Chavelis, est-ce que vous m'entendez? Allez, face un téléphone là-bas, Ramiti. J'ai un mot de passe ici. Regardez là-dedans, je dirais votre mot de passe. Est-ce que vous m'entendez là où vous êtes? Les gens, ils disent toujours que les architectes de cas sont pas. Regardez, c'est joli chez nous. Allô? On va commencer. Est-ce que vous m'entendez? Allez, allô? On va commencer. Est-ce que vous m'entendez? Allez, allô? On va commencer. Allez, ok. C'est à vite là. Bonjour à tous. Welcome everybody. Ok. I'm going to share today about Norwegian architecture in Madagascar. So far, the first slides are going to be in English. Then I will switch in French with Lianso, who is going to introduce our background check work about the findings we've made. So I have to ask you to be very, very, very patient with us, since this is a discovery from ourselves, on ourselves as architects to students, interns, engineers, people of knowledge of constructions in Madagascar know very little about this heritage, this legacy we had. Here I am sharing about legacy and heritage because mostly in Madagascar we don't talk much about architecture. We only build because we need to build something, but we don't know exactly from what background and from what knowledge. First of all, there's no architecture school in Madagascar. So this is one of the biggest issue we are having. Most of the trainings and the degrees are from abroad. So locally, we have engineer school. We have 2 year degrees studying designs in architecture, but there's no accredited school of architecture in Madagascar. Um, we have three books about architecture in Madagascar. I will say that the book in the right, Histoire de Madagascar, will not be a specific book about architecture, but it has some knowledge of the culture, of the way things were built and imported and also developed in the country, in the islands. The Nativel one in the center is really the most researched book. It's about a royal house, a royal palace in the Mirna Kingdom, and the one in the left, I would say the left, the La Cité du Nil, is from it's the same way as the Histoire de Madagascar. It was written by many researchers, authors, and architects, and all two are based on Antananarive mostly. We know Descartes is one of the most known, renowned researcher on Malagasy construction in other regions. But his research are really dated. It's from the colonial area before 1960s. So after that, we don't know much about this culture of architecture in Madagascar. I will say that the three next slides will be really about introducing Madagascar to people who don't know Madagascar, or maybe people in Madagascar who don't know Madagascar. First of all, the architecture initially in Madagascar, and this is a picture I've stolen from Van. Very sorry, Van, for that. Of a Chan Kutuna. It's really the first primary Kaz Malgache, all wood, nailless. I will say that it's from Imerna region, but I will say also that it's from East Asia. We have a really big part of our origins from this region of the world. They will say that it's also like related to the Zafmanir constructions, which is a UNESCO recognized construction. So Malagasy architecture is mostly wooden. What happened then? What happened then is that we burned everything. There is no more forest coverture in Madagascar. There's no more green island. There's mostly tanate. Tanate is really land with no sight of water. We'll say that Madagascar used to be very clean. Now Madagascar is very red. And if you want to go from a town to another town, you will make hundreds and thousands of kilometers. You will not see the sights of a forest, all the beautiful rainforests we have. All we have now is clusters, patches of preserved rainforests. Maswala one is one of the biggest. Also, the Ranmafana was one in the eastern, southeastern coast. There's not much to say because we have a really big endemic, really like big patrimony biodiversity ecosystems of plants and species, which are really found only in Madagascar, but it's disappearing. With all the slash and burns and the exploitation of the forest, it's disappearing at a rate of, I would say, like 500 hectares per year or more than that. I don't know the numbers. What we have left is scary. What we have left is drought and drastic drops in production of crops. Why so? Because let's say we will say, is it climate change? Let's say it's the absence of sustainability both in governance and both in planification. I would say that it's really our fault as Madagascar that we were not able to manage all the big territories and all the resources we had from past centuries. So that will be it, like for the introduction of Madagascar as a country. Then now we are going to talk about architects. Architects is mainly exchanges. It started 2 years, 3 years ago before the COVID. We met presence meetings. We had discussions. We did talks. We did a lot of beer drinking as well. And now it's only online because of the sanitary conditions. And we want to have more and more people to join us. Why are we talking about a specific topic today? It's mainly because it has to be talked about. It's something that is really difficult to acknowledge because it's everywhere and nowhere. It's the legacy of foreign architecture in Madagascar. We have a summer internship here. I will share more picture about the room. We have six interns in the room, and one of them, Yansu, I hope you will not be shy to join this. One of them will be introducing what she's made from Discovery. I would say that it's the best to say that it's what we found from what we have. We don't have much, as I say, as a background in architecture and also the knowledge we have. But it's really great that she did all this research and how what she found so far is something very interesting for research later. Don't be shy for that. We will make it in French. And also afterwards we can have discussions online or maybe next week about this. The founding of the finding of this legacy in architecture that needs to be shared and that needs to be discussed because mostly we need to develop a new way of conception and also of fabrication in Madagascar since we are really hit. I would say like hit really are down, like we are completely down with the recession, inflation, and all the cost related consequences of the hikes in pricing. And the way we are building is from the import of materials, building materials. So we have to find new ways, new techniques that are coming from our culture and background. It's not new then, it's really new for us, but it's already there. So what we have now is this construction from the Norwegian that was imported. First of all, I will talk about the Sakalava. Who are the Sakalava and why the Norwegian of the NWS came over in Madagascar? Give the Sakalava what they need the most, God's words in their own language. So it's about the Bible. It's about how Madagascar, when it opens its frontiers, coasts to the foreigners back after Ranavana the First and Radama the First in the 19th century. The first people who came over here were the missionaries, the religious communities. So the Sakalava region is in the western coast of Madagascar. Mostly the territories is very big. I'll say that it's 20% of Madagascar territory. It's the biggest region. The Merna region kingdom used to fight a lot with the Sakalava kingdoms. I will say kingdoms because it was separated in the middle of the 19th century. But what we have so far is like they are the ones who ruled these regions of Madagascar. So when the Norwegian, when they come over here in Madagascar and they settled with their families, they had to deal with this kingdom and the kings there particularly. What we know so far of the Sakalava region and the Sakalava kingdoms, and I will thank Erika and Jansu for the background research, is that they have their way of living and the way of establishing the villages. So these are research they made online from few books, from the Kari readings, and we see here a concept of the village, the structure of the community village made by the Sakalav. You'll see that it's mainly built with woods, muds, and also vegetal roofing. It's also, let's say, built in an axis from north and south axis, and there's some kind of hierarchy in the dimensioning of the houses. The appearance of a Sakalav village is really depending on the ecological environment. I will say that from the north and the south of the coastal western coast of Madagascar, you see different environmental resources. When we say we had a lot of rainforest and trees, I will say that in this region, Madagascar was mainly made of bushes and the forest sèche, let's say that the dry forest, and the materials mainly were wood. So the scarcity of materials were already mastered by this civilization. I would say the civilization because they were really related to the way we practice religion in Madagascar before the interventions of the missionaries. We were related to the culture of ancestors and all the nature around us. The Zebu sacrifice is really in the center of what we are doing in our religion, and the astrolog, the Umbias, and all the Panam, all the ones who are teaching us the way to practice this religion. What is really important in a community in the Sakalava regions is the tamarind trees. Um, Everything is built around this, and everything is dealt and decided around the tamarind tree. I'll say that it's really related to Africa's origins of this ethnic. Therefore, this one is from Ezeda region. It was, I'll say, planted around the 19th century. It's a pictures taken in the 50s, in the 20th centuries, and I've heard from someone on Twitter that it's still there in 2022. So this big tree is a Sakalava village tree typical. It's in the south. Ezeda is mostly a village that has been uh, developed with the common, let's say, the common knowledge of the Lutheran missionaries and also the people that were there already, the Sakala. What happened in the 1980s? What happened is that a lot of communities from Norway decided to settle in the south of Africa, mostly in South Africa and Madagascar. They came over with boats. What happened is that they came with material and religion. They needed to settle because in their country they have these huge reformers, they have this huge um, sponsorship to help develop the religion elsewhere in the world. So they started with the colonies in the south of Africa. So this is the polos. I found this picture on the University of South California's archives. You have to really spend a lot of time online to find these kinds of pictures on related activities around Madagascar's history. Let's say that in 1885, Madagascar was already split between the London Missionary Society, the Jesuits, the French, and the Norwegian Missionary Society. So the Paulus was one of the expeditions that was necessary to the survival of the communities established in Madagascar. They brought houses and churches with them. So I saw like what is happening here. We are in the middle of Ambuibe, and I saw this station. My background is in architecture. I've been trained in Quebec in wood architecture. So when I saw this, I was like, seriously, we are in the beginning of the 20th century in the middle of Sakalava region in Ninabe, and there's this mission station. And what I knew so far about architecture, missionaries architecture in Madagascar, all the Chanvat from Ambanakang, the great church built in how do you say Pierre stone churches in Antananarive. Just to make a reminder of Madagascar architecture history, stone used to be forbidden in the Rouve, in the Lab, in Malagasy construction, in Merna construction, because it reminds of the dead, the Raven. It's really sacralized. It's something really important for us, the culture of death and the religion of death. So stones reminds us of this and was forbidden. Also, everything was based on wood, uh, as in the Chankuten, but because of the scarcity of the materials and also because of the fire, There was a lot of fires in Taranaki back then. Carnaval too allowed the constructions of stone in Antananarivo. So when I saw this mission station in the middle of the Menabe region, I was like, oh, where does this come from? Because mainly, if it was from missionaries, they should be built it in, maybe in stone or maybe like build it from mud. But this was really pretty well structured and pretty well constructed. And this one, I didn't put the source. I'll put the source at the end of the PowerPoint. But this one also is in Pale region, is in Morondava, Menabe region, and from the same epoch, from the same period. This one as well, same as the first. Here we have a mix. We even have a church. This church brought to me really a curiosity because I saw this church back in my history book when I studied architecture, Norwegian architecture. So this is in Belle-sur-Tirmine. Belle-sur-Tirmine, let's say, it's really in the middle of it. I won't say like, really no offense, but Belle-sur-Tirmine takes 12 hours to get there. It's really so far, that far. So when the powers arrived, they built the mission station and the Bale church. Good. They made great houses. Where do these houses come from? So this was the main source. I spent hours and hours and weeks and days on this and other Lutheran Protestant reformist archives. So I saw, thanks to Wikipedia and the cross-checking of dozens of websites, that it was built, and I'm very sorry, I don't know how to read this, from the Strumen Travery fabric. This factory was um, created by an engineer, a Norwegian engineer that was trained in Germany. In 1880, he came back from his studies home with the knowledge of prefabrication. Germany back then was really industrialized. It was really one of the biggest industrialized country in the world. We have England, we have the start of the United States and the French, but Germany really mastered the wood. So when this young graduate came back home, he decided that he wanted to build the very first wood house factory in the world. Let's say the wood house prefabricated factory in the world. What is really typical of this region is that the Norwegian and Sweden have a lot of woods, a lot of forests. So they know how to build with this kind of material. So what was the relation between this and Madagascar? Let's say, guys, that was a really fun discovery. Because I'm going to be very wrong with the naming of the creator of the fabric, I will say he's the son of one of the Norwegian Missionary Society Secretary General. So this family was involved in the NWS back in the 1980s, 1880, and they sent communities all over the world, and they sent communities with the idea of dispatching the religion and dispatching the way of practicing the reform, the Lutheran religion. So he asked his dad that he could join the implementation of these communities. And they sent the first houses from his brick from his factory in Madagascar. So we are the ones who are really lucky in this because we are the ones in Madagascar, in the Menabe regions, as I said, to have enriched and to have been the first to have the prototypes. What happened next is really great because these fabrics, this factory made dozens and thousands of prefabrication all over the world, in South Africa, but also in the United States. Because of the Norwegian and WS moving to the United States to make colonies in the west regions of the United States, brought us as well this knowledge with them. But Madagascar was the first to have the prototypes established in the very rude and tough materials, resource, and also, let's say, ethnic and religious challenging region of Sakalava. This is the Conference de Morondava, a picture I took in 2021 when I was there. And this is the Église catholique de Morondava. Uh, is it related? Is it really what is left from these houses? That is the big mystery here. What happened to these houses? And also, I would like to thank Eric Journeau for his really, really great participation in this research because there is heritage, there is a legacy of this culture. It belongs to the Lutheran Church of Madagascar. There are dozens of these houses left in Madagascar, mostly in Fort-Dauphin, because they moved from Minag. If you know Madagascar well enough, Morondava and Fort-Dauphin are really opposites, but it's remains in the south. There's a big work that the NWS and the Lutheran Church have made in the Great South of Madagascar for 70 years, for 100 years. They've been there doing caritative and humanitarian work. So I would like to thank Eric Journeau and other people from this region that help uh, with this research. Now I'm going to give Yantu a little bit of words to tell us about what she found, and it will be mostly in French, but also to explain to us what happened with the internship and what have they been doing. Vas-y. Attends. Ah, là, ça m'explique. Non, c'est ça. Hein. Qu'est-ce que t'as fait? Ok, ça va être 5 fois. Bon, je trouve. Vas-y. Tu peux parler très fort. Le stage explique, oui.
À propos de la maison Sakalava,
Le stage, d'accord.
mon projet de stage concerne la conservation, la reconstruction de la maison Sakalava. Surtout l'église se trouve appelée Fort-Dauphin.
Tu peux parler plus fort, vas-y.
Et pour commencer, je vais parler de la contexte historique de la maison norvégienne à Madagascar. C'était en 1844, il y avait la création de la NOS, Norway, missionaries society. C'était en 1966. La mission luthérienne Stavanger, arrivée des premiers missionnaires norvégiens à Kamata, Madagascar, avec le bateau et les heures, direction Antsirabe. Et il y avait aussi l'attribution d'une partie de Sakalava et du sud-ouest. En 1967, on a installé la première église luthérienne à Pisa. En 1869, l'arrivée de la deuxième vague des missionnaires norvégiens et l'installation dans le le nord, la Sakalava sud, Pisa ouest et Loaran ouest. En 1970, il y avait la prospection vers la côte occidentale, la passage sur Saint-Augustin, à Juillet et à Maniouvre. En 1972, il y a la création de la ville d'Antsirabe par le pasteur norvégien Rosas et le norvégien Borgen en tant que station de montagne pour servir du centre de retraite en raison du climat qui est beaucoup plus frais. En 1917, il y a l'ouverture des fermes à Antsirabe et Et en novembre 1950, il y a la fusion de la MMS, la ULCA, l'unité de Lutheran Church d'Amérique et la LMP, Lutheran Mission Ford, sous le nom de FLM, Église luthérienne malgache. Et à la fin, en 1975, il y a entièrement l'indépendance de la FLM. Et puis la technique, on va savoir la technique de construction des maisons norvégiennes ou des maisons Sakalava. Pour le plan de masse du village, il y a deux types de villages. Il y a le village des pêcheurs, bâti en bord de la mer, et le village des éleveurs, logé dans un clairière au milieu d'un bois. La structure d'un village reprend la conception d'un espace plan cardinalisé. Et la construction d'un village se trouve à l'est ou au nord. Au centre du village, il se trouve un endroit ombragé pour lieu de communication. En périphérie extérieure, il se trouve un lieu de décharge pour se protéger. Les matériaux de construction de la maison Sakalava ou de la maison norvégienne sont les tonificati, les arbres fiani ou baobab ou tamarinier, les azinanan, les bois de palétuvier, et pour les tôles, ce sont des tôles galvanisées. Ensuite, la disposition des pièces de la maison, la disposition des pièces, à l'origine, c'était composé d'une cuisine, un salon, un grenier, une lucarne et deux chambres à coucher dans l'arche de villa. Mais actuellement, la nouvelle construction est disposée de 3 chambres à coucher, un salle à manger, un chambre repas et un salon. Maintenant, nous allons parler de l'évolution temporelle de la maison norvégienne à Madagascar. Voilà les photos qui représentent l'évolution temporelle de la maison norvégienne à Madagascar. Voilà aussi l'évolution en 1901, 1902, 1910, pendant les années 1900. Et aussi les différentes églises et les maisons, stations que les Norvégiens ont implantées à Madagascar. Et voilà, jusqu'en 1937, les églises ont été toujours construites par les maisons norvégiennes à Madagascar. Et actuellement, on voit certains des techniques des Norvégiens dans les panneaux waterfront et d'analyse, par exemple. L'architecture a été toujours vue à Samedi. Voilà les bibliographies que l'on peut consulter pour la recherche.
Conclusion.
Alors, pour conclure, on peut dire que les Malagasy ont toujours retenu cette technique de construction de bois, surtout au niveau des charpentes à Madagascar.
Elle est très timide, mais elle est très timide. Et on applaudit tous. En fait, tout le monde est en train de manger. Donc, on fait un petit tour de la salle, là, comme on respecte les conditions sanitaires, mais on est tous en train de manger quelque chose. Et vraiment, elle est très timide, mais elle a travaillé très dur. On va juste dire que le travail de Liantou est très concis, mais elle a passé beaucoup de temps là-dessus. Et pour nous, en fait, l'importance ici, c'est de juste essayer à chaque fois, à chaque opportunité, que chaque stagiaire puisse en fait revenir un peu aux sources. Alors, qu'est-ce que serait pour nous, en fait, le next step? C'est déjà d'avoir beaucoup d'aide. Donc, on remercie vraiment la petite clique du samedi à 9h qui est là, toujours connectée, des architectes, des charpentiers. Eric, je te donne un slide là. Et par la suite, en fait, c'est de pouvoir développer ce petit laboratoire. Ça, c'est notre ambition. On est 3 ou 5 éducateurs enseignants dans ce groupe. J'ai envie de nommer donc JC et Taïna, je ne sais pas si vous êtes connectés. JC est charpentier, Taïna est la plus grande chercheuse dans le bois, je dirais dans le monde, la meilleure, et surtout la plus grande spécialiste du bois malgache. Donc, ce qui était super ici, c'est de savoir qu'il y a une technique de fabrication qui a été prototypée à Madagascar. Il y a une construction qui a été prouvée en Amérique du Nord, car les mêmes missionnaires sont allés donc construire là-bas et ont développé. L'histoire a montré toute une industrie de préfabrication. Et ça, c'est l'histoire qui le prouve. Puis il y a eu cette grosse coupure à Madagascar à cause de la déforestation, à cause de tout ce qui a été import, à cause de la brique de terre cuite, pas crue, et surtout du parpaing béton. Je fais un grand coucou à Eric et Noël Ratimier, Eric Journeau et Noël Ratimier du côté de Fort-Dauphin, qui sont vraiment les grands sonneurs d'alerte sur la préservation de la dizaine de maisons qui restent dans la région de Fort-Dauphin. Il faut continuer, je pense, à faire de la transmission. Il faut continuer à ce que ces jeunes-là puissent développer leur façon de construire, mais avec une bonne connaissance, avec ce qui nous reste, et voir comment, à Madagascar, avec les matériaux qu'on a, que ce soit du végétal, que ce soit la terre, que ce soit le bois, comment essayer d'abriter en fait notre population et puis comment développer tout un corps de métier, un secteur qui a été très longtemps dévasté. Et je pense que l'opportunité maintenant, c'est de se jeter dedans, remercier l'inflation. Je suis désolée, c'est très cynique, hein. Mais voilà. Donc, n'hésitez pas à nous contacter si jamais vous avez un quelconque intérêt pour les histoires d'architecture, les histoires avec les jeunes, les histoires d'information. Je n'ai pas d'intervention en ligne. Est-ce qu'on a des questions en ligne? Non. C'est vraiment, ça intéresse personne, la culture le samedi matin. Mais si jamais vous voulez continuer avec nous, si papoter, on reste donc en ligne. On a un étudiant qui est en ligne. Zou, c'est ça, Zou, hein? Non, ça. Ah, mais c'est là. Ah, non, Zou, je ne savais jamais vos dons, le stagiaire. Oh my god. Et donc voilà. Et Zou, est-ce que tu peux intervenir? Tu veux nous dire un peu ton impression de la journée, de la matinée et de ce gros travail de Léon?
Hier, moi et Vincent, on a passé le temps sur le projet des églises norvégiennes.
Tu l'as exploité.
Mais j'ai quand même l'impression de ne pas présenter tout le projet. C'est elle qui est la seule responsabilité, mais je veux juste préciser que les Malgaches ont retenu sur la façon de préserver, la façon.
Un grand plat de
La façon de faire des charpentes et aussi l'amélioration des matériaux face au cyclone, parce qu'auparavant, lors d'un passage du cyclone, toutes les maisons étaient toutes envahies. Et par la suite, le matériel ont su trouver l'amélioration des matériaux comme l'utilisation des briques et parfum. Et sur la fortification au niveau des dessins et des autres projets de la maison.
Donc voilà, donc c'est vraiment on a applaudi, hein. Et on vous remercie, ça fait 45 minutes, c'est bon, c'est assez, ça nous a bouffé nos data. Mais on vous remercie, on laisse le stream quelques minutes pour faire un joli sortie. Et donc on espère faire ça la semaine prochaine. Merci encore.